Hi, my name is Goldman. I'm the director and founder of Goldman & Associates. Our firm has a primary focus on family law issues, and today we're going to talk about alimony. There's a couple things to talk about alimony. Number one, the formula, and number two, who gets it. Let's talk about item number one. There's a bunch of factors that go into it, but I'm going to give you what I like to think of as the three fundamental factors. Factor number one is the length of the marriage. If you have a long-term marriage, 25, 30 years, you're much more comfortably on the spectrum of alimony, whereas if you've got an 18-month marriage, you're way on the other side of the spectrum, barely making it. The point is that the court is likely to consider alimony in a longer-term marriage and not likely to consider it in a short-term marriage. So number one, we look at what's the duration of the marriage. So a 1-year marriage probably won't get, a 30-year marriage certainly will get. You know, an 8, 10, 12, 15-year marriage is sort of in the middle. Might get some, might not get. You know, that's going to depend on the circumstances. Number two, the disparity of income between the parties. What's the difference between what husband makes and what wife makes? If there's a big difference, then it's more of an alimony case. If it's a long-term marriage but they make the same amount of money, it's really not an alimony case. The third thing is there disposable income available to pay it? So let's say you got a long-term marriage and one person makes much more than the other, but they have accumulated such a crazy amount of debt that has to continue to be serviced, and there's no money left to pay it. They live check to check. I have seen people who make very healthy incomes who come to our office broke. They're broke because while they have, you know, healthy incomes, they're poor at their own level. Because every time they got a raise, they took on more debt. Bigger house, bigger car, bigger this, bigger that, more toys. And now they're in a situation where, yes, they have the income, yes, they have a long-term marriage, but there's nothing left to pay it. So those are your three main factors. Now, who gets it is a different story. A man can get alimony. A woman can get alimony. It's not a gender-based issue. It's all about the three factors that we talked about. So, for example, if you have a long-term marriage and wife makes considerably more than the husband, she's making $200,000, he's making $50,000. In a situation like that, where it's a long-term marriage and there's money to pay it, you can bet the court is going to order the other spouse who makes less money, there's going to be alimony there. Because after so many years of marriage, the court's going to say, you know what, these parties should probably have the same amount of money to live on going forward. So if she makes $200,000, he makes $50,000, that's a total income of $250,000. If we were going to divide that in half, we'd give each party $125 to live off of, which may mean that the court will say, you know what, she's got to pay him $75,000 in alimony. That equalizes them. Now, that's a rough formula, and the court's formula is that, but a little more sophisticated in terms of how they deal with it and the guidelines and all that, and there's a lot that goes into it. But the point that I'm trying to illustrate by that example is that either party, irrespective of gender, can certainly be eligible for alimony. It's less about male or female and more about what are the numbers and how long was the marriage. If you have any questions, reach out and we'll be glad to help you out.